How would you like to add some really cool and useful hide row, show row functionality in Excel? This is a slicer, no macros or anything involved, and it is clickable and it is showing and hiding my rows of data. Also, check this out. I could go to Results section C, click on this, and jump to that section. Again, no macros. Click on this, click on that, jump back to the top, hide the workings. Pretty cool. I'll show you how. Let's go. Right, the trick here is that I've got a hidden table, okay? And I'm filtering this table for this column, the show hide column, using a slicer. If you create a table, okay, you can go to table design and you can insert a slicer, which is what this is. And then I've done a bit of fancy formatting on this slicer, okay? But that's essentially it. So how have I set it up? Well, it relies on this magical function, okay? Aggregate. Now what that function does is it can ignore, okay, this option 5 here is it can ignore hidden rows. So essentially what I'm doing is saying when the row is hidden, it shows a 0. When it's visible, when the row is visible, it shows a 1, and I'm using that. So the way I'm doing that is to refer to this. I'm using this number 3, okay, so the aggregate 3, which is a count A, it just counts, values in a cell. You've got to use something to reference, and I've just referenced this column here, and there's nothing in this column other than a full stop, period sign. You could put anything you want, doesn't matter. You could put the letter X, you could put an A, whatever. Okay, so that's just it. So when I hide this row, that 1 will change to a 0. That's what the aggregate 5 bit does. So that's it. That's really the core to this whole thing. So what we've got then is this. It says if this column has got a 1 in it for hiding it, okay, I'll just put a column here where you manually type in a 1 if you want the row to be hidden. So if it's flagged to be hidden and it's currently visible, we'll come back to this other bit in a second. If it's currently visible, then I want the word to be hidden, otherwise the word show hide workings, which is essentially the 2 labels here because I'm filtering on this column. The extra little bit I did was to say if it's also all, like if everything is visible, so the minimum value of that column is 1, it means everything is visible, then I want it to say to be hidden. As soon as I hide it, I want it to say show hide workings. Okay, so that's the sort of tricky bit, I guess. So there we go. So when I click on show hide workings, it just filters. And then when I click on it again, it unfilters. Okay, so there we go. And then I've just got, that's it. And then I've just clicked on my slicer. I've gone slicer, right click and modified a slicer and just changed a bit of the formatting. You can change it to sort of on hover, a different color. I've laid it out, the slicer, as just 2 columns. And then when I click on it, okay, it just filters. All right, and all this is just saying, hey, if the minimum of that visible column is 0, it means something's hidden, something's filtered, okay? Because if there's no zeros, it means every single row is visible. So that's just using emojis. All right, for my monkey here, my monkey is just referring to that cell equals H5. All right, now the navigation part. I'll show you that next. It consists of 2 elements. One, a filter, a slicer essentially, that filters a particular table and gets me this result. So essentially as I click on a different element, and I'll talk about that in a second, I get a different result here. Okay, so that's just changing that cell there. And I've also got a drop-down option. I'll mention that at the end. But this is nice with a slicer. But if you want to make it a drop-down box, you can. I could pick on a drop-down and click from a particular list. But I'll show you that in a second. So there's that coupled with this formula here. Okay, let me go in here, and I'm actually going to open this formula up a bit. Hold on, let me go in here. So this is the formula, all right? And I'm using a let function because it just makes the formula a little bit easier here. So all we're saying is, right, the location, okay, the actual name itself is looking up H4, that, in this column, okay? And the nice thing about an X lookup is it actually under the hood returns a cell reference, okay? So then what I say is that I want to return that reference. So the let function, you can give parameters. It's about making your function easier to read. So the cell then, this is just a name I made up, is using this Excel formula, cell address, okay, and then location. So give me the address of that cell we just looked up, okay, all good? All right, and then I'm going to hyperlink to that address. Now I've added a little offset, 5 columns, so that I don't end up, my cursor doesn't jump to this, it actually jumps to something 5 columns to the right. So let me just show you. If I go to result B and click on it, okay, it's come down here, which is 5 columns to the right of this. Okay, so let me just click back onto that formula just to show you again. So here we go again. We're saying grab me the cell that matches the lookup value from I4, which is this cell. So it looks up that in this column and actually grabs that result, that column. So I'm doing an X lookup in location column twice. So it brings that back. Okay, then use that in the cell function. So use the location in the cell function to bring back that particular, the address of that particular cell address. Okay, that's a built-in function. And then I'm offsetting it 5 columns. Okay, just to link to this column instead. All right, and then I'm hyperlinking to that cell with the word click to navigate, and I put a little emoji in there with a hand sign. So when I click on this, it'll jump to the home section, but 5 columns across. If I click on this one, it changes this value, and if I click on this, it jumps to result A, which is 5 columns across from there. So that's how I did it. So how do I get this box to change? Well, you could simply do a drop-down list, which is the way I did it first, which doesn't give you the slicer option. You can simply click on a drop-down, and this list, okay, is just using a dynamic array that filters out the blanks from this column. So here we go, we've just got this. It's a filter function. It filters that location column where the location isn't blank. And I've just referenced that in my data validation. Okay, so here, data validation equals navigation selection C5 hash. That refers to the dynamic array. Okay. Now don't put both in here, because as soon as you pick this, you'll wipe out the formula. But just to make it easy for demo purposes, I've actually put a formula in here that goes to another page called the navigation selection slicer, which is this. Okay. How have I created this slicer to feed this box? Well, Power Query to the rescue. I basically load this column, remove the duplicates, and load it to another sheet. So here we go, right click, get data from table/range. Right click on the location column, remove other columns. Right click, click on the drop down and untick nulls. Okay, and then load that. Okay, close and load to, and load it to a table in a new worksheet, or an existing one if you've got it. Okay, which I've already done, so I'm going to cancel out of that. And here's the table that I loaded, and then I added a slicer. Okay, I was in the table, I went to table design, and I inserted a slicer for for the location. And then I just prettied it up. So that's the table, but I want to feed the filtered result. So if I go result A, I want to feed that into the other worksheet. So the simplest way I think of is to do this. This is just an X lookup for the number 1 in this visible row column. And in that visible row column, I've got a simple aggregate function again, the 3, 5 combo. So all the other rows that are hidden are showing zeros. Okay. So as soon as I have visible, they all show 1s, and essentially we're only picking one at a time. So the only one with a 1, once you filtered, is the one you want, and that's the cell that then I fed into here. Okay, don't do that for the drop down, I'm just putting it in one spot for demo purposes, because as soon as I actually click one of these, I'll end up wiping out my formula that links to the other cell. So use one or the other, either the filtered list for the drop down or the slicer approach. All right, so there you go, a nice dynamic, okay, button to show and hide. You can just show the things that are going to be hidden. You can hide workings, you can do all sorts, okay? You can click on different elements. It's pretty cool. All right, let me know what you think, and I'll catch you in the next video.